Okay, so this series is going to be the games between myself and Soviet Kingdom versus Banana TQ, right? TQ, yeah, and TT1. With them being the Fighting Spirit team and us being the BJH team, the first series is going to be here on Fast as Possible, so we're just going to go ahead and jump straight into it. Since I played these games, I will have a little bit of extra insight on like the race picking and that kind of thing as well. So for this first series, or at least this first game, Soviet picks Protoss every single game. We're going through this out there. TT1 picks Protoss every single game. Banana picks Protoss for the fastest games and then plays random for the other games. And I picked random for this game. And then I start picking and random in like different games and kind of go back and forth. It's a little bit all over the place for me. Kind of hadn't really decided how I was going to play this. But as you can see from going through that, all three races of the other players, all Protoss, and then I landed on Terran for this game. Try and do the best I can as far as casting. It's a little bit... It's tough when I played the games and know the results. Like, not only do I know the results, but I, like, intimately know the game, right? And, like, kind of what happened, and, like, even, like, what my thought process was and everything like that, so... unfortunately, I won't be able to act, like, surprised or anything during these games. I'm not gonna pretend like I don't know, obviously. But, I'll just try and just basically explain what we're looking at. So you can see it's 3-gate here, 3-gate here, 3-gate here. So all three Protosses go 3-gate. I choose to go bio this game. I don't really have a lot of... Well, none of us do, right? All four of us have almost zero, close to zero, 2v2 Fastix experience. So we're not really sure like what the exact strategies would be. But with us being BJH players, Soviet and I, we just kind of want to go like macro. That's our comfort zone. That's all we really know how to do. We don't know really any of the like fancy strategies or things like that. Probably going to come in here from TT1, scout that I'm going bio. Gonna get confirmation on that. The big thing was I didn't want to get cannoned in, right? That's kind of like the big fear. And if I get cannoned, I need to be able to get into tank pretty quickly. So my thought process was just trying to make sure I don't get cannoned. Forge coming down for Banana already. Pylon going up. And yeah, this is tough. Got 4-gate here, 3-gate here, Forge. And 4-gate here. But double toss is just kind of always going to be this way that the very early game is going to go to them. Terran, as I've mentioned many times before, can't get on the map very easily in the very beginning. I do start moving my Marines across the ramp here just to try and make sure I don't get cannoned. And immediately I see the cannon go down, he cancels it. And all the Zealots move towards me, Soviet coming in behind. Then we're going to start picking at it here a little bit. Cannon is restarted here. Got 2 Zealots on me here, so because of that, Soviet is able to fight here a little bit. But now there's 4 Zealots. He targets the cannons down. Trying to make sure the cannons don't go up so I can rejoin, but I did lose a few Marines here. Several Marines, it sounded like. 3, I think. To the Zealots here. As I'm running back. I did hit a supply block. Pretty bad one. And for that reason, I just don't have very many Marines right now. A really unfortunate supply block for me. And the really bad thing about this is getting pushed back into my base means that there's nothing I can do anymore to stop these cannons from getting up. So just really basic error on my part this game that kind of makes the game a little bit tough now. Because I'm going to be losing a ton of Marines while I was going up to 5 racks, and I'm getting cannoned in. So now at this point, with the cannons going up, you can add several cannons, and basically I'm forced to either go into like a pure bio bust, and just basically hope that he didn't make too many cannons, or go in a tank. I choose to go into factory, instead of basically hoping that he doesn't make a lot of cannons. And as you can see, he is making a lot of cannons. We're up to 5 cannons on the way now. So with that block going up, now they're going to be focusing on Soviet Kingdom. He's going to drop some defensive cannons here to try and stay alive. does have a lot of zealots here as well, and part of it is, at least in the beginning, because there's so much resources being committed to the cannons here, it does mean that the unit count from Till is going to be a little bit low at first. Soviet specialties, zealots. They do back off a little bit here, because the zealot count is pretty high for Soviet right now, with 4 defensive cannons as well. So with only zealots breaking through, that's going to be hard, but as you can see, TT1 is up to goons. Going up to 6 gateways, adding in the robo here, getting range, +1 attack. Banana getting +1, went for the extra Nexus here. Templar Archot's already on the way. And that's kind of another thing with this. A pretty common tactic when you cannon in a Terran is to just tech really quickly to Templar Archots. You make a few DT to kind of buy time, and then you go into Storm. And as you can see with these like tiny chokes here, it's very difficult to kind of push through there because you're automatically bottled coming out of that choke. 4 storms and things like that. The goons come in here. We don't have goon tech. We're just purely on zealots. Citadel kind of just starting, maybe only a few moments ago. Oh, I need to keep this down, I'm sorry. Is getting a lot of zealot pickoff here with the cannons, and like I said, he has a very high zealot count. Getting some gateways in the background as well, since we're worried about the goons picking off gateways. Plus, we're going to lose a lot of our area over here. We basically have no zone control over here to deal with the goons. He moves his zealots down here for like a big swell. Meanwhile, I'm just getting my tanks out, getting the siege ready. Does lose this forge, getting us +1. So we can't remake any more cannons right now. Actually does a pretty decent job trading here with pure slow zealot. Again, zealot goon. DT do show up now as well, just to be a total pain. Basically, they'll just look to pick off any buildings that are outside of the cannon range here, which actually isn't going to be very much. It looks like just this one pylon, maybe? Not even this pylon, surprisingly, but we can get this one pylon. The thing about this that obviously really sucks again for Soviet, we can't use like any of this space here. Just having a hard time finding space to put on like extra gateways and things like that. Meanwhile, my siege mode I think just finished here, and I'm going up to Starport in case I want to get drops, second command center for scans and things like that, SCV production. Probably should have dropped that a while ago to build up some scans. And Zealot leg speed, just about finished here. I need to get rid of this, but never look at it anyway. Yeah, the Dragoons here picking off the gateways now, once again messing with Soviet's production. Soviet doing a pretty good job of still being alive at this point while having basically no help from me this game so far. And leg speed finishes as he jumps on top of these goons, so he's going to be able to clear a couple of these goons and possibly take this fight completely. Do have +1 attack on laser goons, and he has 2 ETs coming down. He moves down to try and block a little bit. Pretty good move. Get a few extra bonus kills here. Good micro from Soviet there. But they do have an observer ready. So once again he's being pushed back. In the meantime, I'm kind of slow pushing down this ramp. Pick off that DT at least. Is the tourney done? No, no, not yet. It's pretty far from it. There's still one more series that my group has to play, and then I have all 3 series that still need to be casted from the other group. And then we have the finals after that. My tanks are finally getting to the front here and pushing this back. Soviet did a fantastic job so far of staying alive in the kind of 1v2 situation. A lot of Templar coming down. Not a lot of Templar, I guess, but 3 Templar. Fair amount of Storm. Getting close to 2 Storm per Templar. Like I said, this choke, you can see, like, there's nowhere really to split in this choke here. So, extremely vulnerable to Storms. Especially me playing so much bio. Very large armies. My supply, really not that high either, despite being under no pressure. SCV count relatively low as well. TT1's proc count is a little bit low himself though. Here they come in for the attack here. The first storm, bit of a whiff, but the second storm pretty huge because a lot of bio gets on the tanks as well. Third storm, absolutely massive and clears just a ton of bio, 15 kills on this Templar. And while this is happening, TT1 once again hitting Soviet on the side, while Banana's fighting me back here trying to push through this choke. Kind of a high-tech army. Yeah, and just a pretty poor trade for me after really doing nothing this game, honestly. I was bottled in and my slow push just immediately gets shoved back into my base. So very, very bad trading by me. So Soviet once again being completely left out on his own here. I basically traded off for like some of Till's army, but he still has a lot left over. Meanwhile, army count completely reset as Terran. Takes me a while to rebuild it. With that, Soviet is losing his whole army here, being under pressure the entire game. Templar are out, Storm pretty far from finishing here though. And now you have to worry about these Templar getting pretty close to the mineral line. Can be pretty devastating on fastest here. Upgrade count also looking very good for Banana at 102. And 000 on Soviet right now since he lost his forges, or at least his first forge. Yeah, Storm goes down, we lose a ton of our workers now, down to 30 workers. I did sort of break through here a little bit. I'm just being pushed back by reinforcements. Purple turning back around to make sure I don't get out of my base. Yeah, TT1's a very good player. Both Banana and TT1 are great players. I said from the beginning I feel like they were going to be the team to beat. They're very well-rounded players as well. Yeah, GG is called. Soviet losing all of his workers, me being pushed back and having no army left. Also called GG. And game 1 goes to Banana and TT1. Team Banana, TT1 taking the first game, going up 1-0. So for this series, or for this game, I didn't want to deal with getting stormed on the choke again, so I swapped to Protoss. So we are officially set up for just a pure Protoss war here. I wasn't really sure how to deal with, yeah, I even say here in all chat, pushing out of these chokes where storms is a nightmare. I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do to push out properly. I think going mech would have been way better, period. But bio's always been comfortable for me, and I think the biggest mistake that game, like I made a few mistakes, but the biggest one I made was getting supply blocked so hard, allowing them to cannon me for free after we canceled the cannons twice. If I'd stayed on top of my production and didn't get supply blocked, I think once we canceled those cannons the second time, I should have been able to get enough bio with Soviet fighting them behind to break through. Protoss, easiest race, proud of you for picking Terran last game, very honorable. Right. TT1 never on BNet, surprises even in this tourney. I think he plays a lot of 2v2 with Fighting Spirit with Banana. I think they like won BSL, or at least did really well in BSL, something like that. Or not BS, was it BSL? I don't really know a lot of them low money stuff. Shield battery, yeah, TT1 is on shield battery a lot. I think he's ranked really high in shield battery. Okay, so Banana going straight for 4-gate here. And TT1 also going straight up to 4-gate. Meanwhile, Soviet not playing 3-gate to start. Yeah, we're just looking to build up a lot of zealots early game. No forges going down, no shenanigans right away. My first zealot I sent across, and I cross-passed with TT1. I will say, since I have this extra insight, I don't see Brown like super well on the minimap when I'm looking at, like when I'm watching with my peripherals. And I just never saw the Zealot go into my base. I didn't see it dancing around this entire time. But here, I do get him to pull off workers, which is actually pretty big. Whenever you pull workers off, it's a lot of lost mining. Because, I kind of mentioned this before, even though I don't get any worker kills, just interrupting the mining multiple times sucks for them, because it does mean that you kind of have to like reset the mining. But yeah, unfortunately he gets on here and actually kills one of my workers, and then I'm also pulling off of the worker, or the mineral line here. There's a second worker as well. So just pretty bad map awareness by me here, all in all. Losing 2 probes does put me a probe behind, and I also ended up pulling off and kind of resetting my mining a little bit. And his Zealot gets away. Mine dies. Yeah, mine died. So pretty bad early game start for me versus TT1 here. Meanwhile, we got just continued 4-gate production. Gas drop for Soviet here. And I think he said he also supply blocked at one point. So he's behind a few Zealots in his base right now. So pretty good early trade here for Banana. Meanwhile, I'm fighting off TT1, and I have a slight lead here against TT1. Supplies even between us. I guess I just be a little closer to my rallies or better cycles. Make a, I guess, even trade. It's kind of hard to say exactly. But yeah, I'll be doing the best I can to keep up with this. We are going back and forth here because there's going to be the 2 of us fighting, like the 1v1s, 2 different 1v1s here to start. Soviet losing a gateway here. Gas coming down now for Banana. But Soviet pushed back inside of his base. I kind of see this on my mini-map, and I'm worried because I see this like swell of Zealots inside of his base. And you can see he's not taking positive trades. Zealot rallied out here, gets killed. And we're down Zealots right now inside of our base, which not looking great for Soviet. Meanwhile, I'm able to keep up with TT1 a bit. We're kind of pushing him back. Definitely don't have enough to push through and do any damage to him. As you can see on the mini-map here, just a ton of Zealots coming in from Banana. Soviet losing here, but we do have cannons popping. Maybe in time to push him back. A bit of a probe drill as well. Sorry guys, I keep leaving the replay thing up. I'll get better at this kind of stuff. But there's a lot of Zealots here, and we're running out of Zealot to sponge for the cannons. So I actually basically just kind of accept that I'm going to get counterattacked here, and I move to try and help. I send a few Zealots back to defend myself, as I kind of, was this about 12? Or 8? Yeah, I send off 12 Zealots here. As Soviet loses his cannons, loses all of his Zealots, try and keep him alive, and I set up a few defensive cannons here around my nexus to prepare for the counterattack. So I am able to split off a handful of Zealots to save Soviet and set up to survive the counter. And luckily TT1 did go for the counter instead of committing to killing Soviet. Because of that, it's able to buy a little bit of time. If he had just full committed to sending, I probably wouldn't have been able to defend him, just because that combined with Banana Zealots would have been more than I could handle. But here we're fighting a little bit. I'm just kind of trying to buy time for like these extra cannons to go up. All back towards this nexus here. I do have my Zealots coming in behind. So fighting with the cannons here, we do have the Zealots, or the gateways once again exposed. But I do come in with like a decent sized Zealot flank. And I am set up, like I said, so that TT1 can't counter me, so we're basically just having all of this fighting at Soviet space right now. Getting a really good trade and kind of swinging the game, the momentum a little bit more back into our favor. Or at least less against us, you know what I mean? And able to get these cannons up, going up to 5 cannons now at his nexus does make it very hard for Zealots to break through this. And I have a fair amount of Zealots in his base. Meanwhile, I was able to go up to Goon Tech. Really heavy gateways here for Banana. A Citadel on the way. Yeah, just tons of gateways coming down. He actually went up to 2nd Nexus as well, so Banana's probes looking pretty good. Soviet, despite being pushed back inside of his base, did also go 2nd Nexus, which was part of why we were We're kind of behind in Zealots. Maybe? I didn't really see the timing on Banana's Nexus, though. May have just been the supply block more than anything, and the faster gas. And now I have goons out on the field. Banana has 3 goons. TT1, meanwhile, basically just now starting our core. We've been on like pure Zealot low gas production this entire game so far for TT1. I'm just looking to kind of pick away at these Zealots a little bit. We are playing on 24 turn rate, so I actually missed Doom on micro a few times, kind of missing my volleys. Not used to the units being too responsive. That's my excuse, it's not laggy enough. But basically just looking for free damage. My gas count's pretty low. Only on 3 geysers, but I'm going up to a 4th here. I probably need even more than that. Now Goon's attacking with the Zealots. Gonna push me back inside of my base. We do have DT coming out, and it looks like no observers. Do you have any observer potential? Okay, we do have the observatory coming down for Banana. But once again, just like more free damage from the DTs. Meanwhile, I'm trying to get whatever additional damage I can with the Dragoons here while trying not to float too much money. Gateway count, maybe a little bit low. Throw down an extra Nexus. Other guys are here, getting my +1 attack. But we are able to push them back out of mid here now. And the DT's pushing Banana all the way back inside of his base as I'm taking a pretty positive trade against TT1. Supply relatively even across the board. Soviet a little bit behind, but he is committing a fair amount of resources into DT right now. Observer comes out. The Archon's even coming for Banana. Defensive cannons coming up here at the choke for Soviet as we're hitting TT1 here, pushing him back inside of his base. I do have a really high Dragoon count right now. Unfortunately, I still don't have my +1. Not quite finished yet. But yeah, really good trade here against TT1's army. Banana coming in behind. Like I said, he has the observers now, so he doesn't have to worry about the DT holding him or getting a bunch of free kills. So we push inside of his base. But TT1 also didn't have range yet, so that hurts him quite a bit in this trade. And just Protoss units everywhere, guys. This is what 4 Protoss going pure macro looks like on fastest, I guess. Just random swaths of army fighting all over the place. Soviet is going to jump on this Cybercore and kill it, but it's going to be after range finish, so TT1 does have that going for him, if nothing else. No real damage was done. Just kind of lost all of our army, but that's pretty much it. Losing a few pylons doesn't matter, or supplied. Not really that bad right now. So his supply dip's pretty low. He is only at 34 workers. I don't think he took any worker damage from what I saw. I think we just haven't been like super on top of it. My worker count not looking that great either. 50. I mean, 50 is close. I think these mineral patches stack to 50. I'm not even 100% on that. 4 more gateways coming down as they come in for this push here. I just have like 1 defensive cannon here for DT, in case DT do show up. I don't have my own robotics or anything, just now starting my Citadel even. So I've been playing pretty low tech, really heavy Dragoon. Soviet, meanwhile, ton of cannons at his front. Does make it where it's going to be hard for him to get pushed in here, especially with storms behind that. It just shuttles out as well. Possibly looking for the classic storm drop on the mineral line. Banana and TT1 sitting back in the middle of the map, but not entirely sure who to attack into right now, this defensive position. I will say my army composition and setup is very vulnerable to storms right now. I'm definitely the better target for them to go for. Storm drop does come down and kills a ton of workers here for Banana, knocking them back down to 21 workers. And immediately just pulling all of your workers off the gas onto minerals is kind of the typical response. He is at least floating a lot of minerals right now, so it won't hurt his initial army production, but that will come back to bite him relatively soon here. Yeah, so now they're hitting me here. Storm's coming down. I have a ton of Dragoons, but Dragoon's not really that great against Storm. Actually, I would say they're bad against Storm. But we do take a pretty decent trade all in all. The storms weren't too bad. We managed to step back and dodge a fair amount of the storms. But now the army from TT1 also going to combine with this push coming out of Banana. And my army count starting to dwindle a fair amount. Soviet trying to break through mid here in the meantime. Yeah, TT1's probe count has not been great. Cutting probes maybe a little bit too early. Yeah, he hasn't taken damage, like any probe damage. It would have pushed his back because of Soviet breaking out here and getting a lot of big storms, like really, really good storms all across this army. Soviet's supply is actually really high right now, but it's just a ton of Templar. I guess he's at 82 workers. Yeah, Soviet's worker count's really, really high. TT1 and Banana both dipping down to barely above 100 supply here. Like another storm drop went down at 30 workers, so I don't think we caught very many storms. Get my tech is late. I mentioned that a little bit earlier, yeah. I was just going really heavy on the Dragoons and a little bit slow on the tech. TT1 actually pretty much doing the same as me, to be honest. His Templar Archive's just now starting. Mine is finished here, at least. Next wave coming in for me, and once again my army count's just not that great. I have Templar coming out, but they're not going to have enough energy for Storm yet. So a little bit unlucky timing. Quickly throw down one Archon here. Getting pushed back inside of my base now. Also floating a lot of resources right now. Soviet is coming in from behind here, and just a few cannons here in mid, basically to slow him down. Big thing is just, at this point, trying not to take too much eco damage. Losing the army, trading really inefficiently is going to be kind of rough. But Soviet has done like a lot of damage. Sorry, I missed it again, but it looks like kind of have some stuff tucked back here. We once again got a storm drop. Banana down to 17 probes tonight right now. Get two pretty good storms off here. As I fall back to my cannons, two more Templar building up energy. Soviet finally being able to make it through middle into my base here and clean this army up. And with that, Banana's just gonna run out of steam here after taking so much probe damage. Once again, Storm dropped down to 5 probes. So Soviet doing a really good job. We got 26 kills on this Templar. Soviet doing a really good job of just non-stop harassing Banana while we're fighting. And I do manage to survive without taking any damage here. So you can kind of see it in the workers at this point. Just a huge eco lead for Soviet and I because of the storm drops, and TT1 just not really feeling like making probes this game. And GG is called since Banana's just completely out of steam. And game 2 going to Team Azhi and Soviet, tying the series up for fastest here. Alright, we are going into the final game here on fastest possible. Between two teams that have basically no idea what they're doing on fastest. I would say the one thing that the four of us learned very quickly was to pick Protoss. Since we don't know a lot of the ins and outs of fastest, with our ignorance it just feels like Protoss is the race to play here. I'm not gonna say by any means that Protoss is the best in 2v2, or that Double Toss is the best, but it's just because we don't know a lot of the strategies or a lot of the nuances. Basically, picking Protoss just keeps it simple for us. Truth of it. Pick Protoss, make a lot of units. That was our game plan. And it seemed like TT1 and Banana had a pretty similar game plan going into game 2 there. Make a whole lot of gateways. Who needs to tech? Just make a million zealots. We'll figure it out from there. So once again, it's a best of 3 on 3 different maps. It's a best of 3 on fastest, then either Fighting Spirit or BGH, and then the other map. Whatever wasn't played. Yeah, it's a best of 3 on all 3 maps. Once again, all three players starting off with triple gate here. No early forward shenanigans, no like goon rushes or anything like that. Just all keeping it nice and simple. Pylon placement does mean that it can't really get a Nexus up here. No plans to get the kind of the standard Nexus position, for the Expert Nexus at least. Once again, going up to a very quick 4-gate for Banana. You can also see in the APMs, I spam significantly less than all three of these players. I haven't been looking at it, but I imagine on average I'm the slowest player. I'm not a very fast player to begin with. I don't spam very much. Unfortunately, taking a pretty bad trade there and losing his first Zealot, Soviet is, against TT1. While this was happening, he was counterattacked by this Zealot. We actually lost one probe, it looks like, and we got pulled off of our mineral line twice now. That's going to hurt our initial Zealot income, or Zealot production quite a bit. I actually kind of learned this trick before, but if you're worried about Zealot Rumbas, you can kind of do these pylons here to help block, and then you can just stick a Zealot here to protect your probes from getting targeted. So, kind of thought about this after that second game there, after I had that Zealot come in and kind of mess with my stuff. Forgot you can do this and just use a single Zealot to wall it. You don't have to worry about pulling probes off or losing probes this way. So Banana once again going up to a quick 4-gate and then a Nexus behind it. I think he did the same strategy last game as well. I, however, forego the Nexus going up to 5-gate, start my gas. About the same time Banana did. Soviet in the meantime fighting TT1 here. TT1 trying to get Island up. No forge is made though, so not necessarily going straight to cannon yet. Meanwhile, Banana pushing me back a little bit. I have this forward pylon. This is not for cannons. This was purely to have kind of a surface area to work around with. You like a little bit of a dance when you create this, where it's I'll pull my Zealots behind the pylon, and if he walks past the pylon, I can engage it, and it'll be bad surface areas. Zealots are going to clump more, that kind of thing. And then if he targets, then Zealots that come out to the outside I can also start poking at. So I actually really like a defensive forward pylon in Protoss Wars. I really like it in any matchup, but especially that. So you can kind of see how like I want to pull him past the pylon a little bit. And he doesn't really want to walk past that pylon. And here you'll see when he targets the pylon, I can then jump on him and start getting some free damage. So yeah, you'll see this dance sometimes when a Protoss is trying to push into another Protoss with this forward pylon. You have a pretty good, like big advantage, it feels like, as a defender, sitting behind this pylon. The forge did go down here in the middle, and a bunch of cannons going up. Soviet also going for a forge and defensive cannons does mean that there was no way he could contest this, so he is going to get held in. Because I saw the pylon go down and the cannon starting to go up, I actually dropped my own forge because it was like, okay, I need to be able to survive a 1v2 here. So I managed to do a little bit of a wall here, drop my own cannons defensively. In this case, the pylon is working against me a little bit. I just want to make sure they don't get on top of my cannons. So I don't take like the best trade here, but I just need to get my cannons up and then I know that I'm going to be safe. I have a lot of Zealots here to tank. But now the cannon, or the wall working in my favor a fair amount. So positive trade here overall for me. I actually get a really, really good trade. Kill a lot of units, don't lose a whole lot myself, and I was also going into goon tech. Now pylons are coming down to the front of my base. Looking to cannon me in as well. And unfortunately, this is where sometimes I feel like defensive cannons in this situation is not great, because you're only defending your base while you're being held in, and I was actually able to kind of withhold the 1v2 without taking any damage and push them back, but because we were also making like a lot of cannons ourselves, it does mean that he wasn't able to break this position in the meantime with his zealots and cannons. So now I've just got whatever like few goons I have harassing. I'm floating a lot of minerals because I'm having such a hard time getting gas income. I actually really struggle with the gas on this map. I have a hard time knowing how to like get the geysers and take them because I don't like the probes coming on the wrong side. I haven't figured out how to prevent that yet, if it's even possible. I just snipe off one tank or cannon there, so that's pretty good. Pushing back those zealots, but we have DT coming out for banana here. Also, let me guys know, like, if you like having the production tab up, even though I don't reference it very often, just let me know. If not, I can turn it off. Because it does take up a fair amount of the screen in 2v2s here, especially on Phasis where you're building like a million things. But now with DT coming out, I can't really push out. My Robo not even started yet. Now they just have total control of mid. Double Robo coming down for TT1 here in the middle. Looking to make cannons. Or not cannons, sorry, but Reavers, looks like. Yeah, there comes the Robo Bay. So with Reavers, cannons, zealots, all that good stuff here in the middle, we got Templar tech possibly coming out for, Templar coming out for banana. We're getting into one of those games where getting past mid doesn't really seem like an option. I'm very late starting my Robo. It's just been a lot of gas trouble for me. Floating 2k minerals. If I had actually had observers coming out with those goons, if I weren't floating so many minerals, got my geysers soon and that kind of thing, I possibly could have busted out with my goon pressure. But because I didn't, Templar's going to be out now. Reavers are coming out. Yeah, Reavers coming out now. Breaking mid no longer seems like an option, so we're going to be going into shuttle drops for Soviet. Oh, and here's the one from banana. Unfortunately losing a lot of probes here. First two I did manage to dodge, but the third one, really good storm. Got a lot of my workers here. Knocking me down to 30 workers, making me the lowest income in the game right now. I got 15 workers there. I am on triple nexus at least, but that is going to help kind of replenish pretty quickly. It's like the one thing I have going for me. That I have the most nexus in the game. TT1 staying on one nexus is up to 39 probes at least. But despite losing all those workers, I'm actually going to be able to catch up to TT1 relatively quickly. Meanwhile, we have a drop coming in from Soviet here, going towards banana. And I think you guys know what happens from here. We've seen this before. It's kind of hanging out, dropping each other. Maybe not at the as fast a pace as you'll see a lot of the fastest actual players do. Oh, that's the problem with A, it brings up all my other menus again. Storm comes down, looks like we killed, what, maybe about 30 workers, so pretty good storm drop there from Soviet. Banana coming in with another storm drop here, and the angle catch me a little bit off guard and just barely not getting it in time, but Banana makes the mistake of clicking the Nexus. So one thing I do know, clicking the main base, if you click the Nexus or CC with the storm, it actually doesn't hit the workers, but with Zerg, if you click the hatchery, it will actually kill the workers. So there might be a chance that Banana didn't know the difference there, and went for the click on the Nexus, and luckily for me, hit 0 probes. Trying to fix my geysers here a little bit, kind of get my mining back going on this side of the geyser line. We got cannons going up around the bases now, trying to close this in, and mid just looking pretty unbreakable. Trying to come down these chokes with Reavers and Storm. I will say, at least the chokes at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock, not as bad as the corner chokes, not as long. It kind of goes into a pretty good opening pretty quickly. Upgrades. Nana looking very strong on upgrades again. He has been good about that as well. He's at 112 right now. I'm at 101, but I have triple forge. Okay, I just finished my third forge, yeah. Looks like I missed a banana did get stormed again, I think, because we're down to 33, and then Soviet just got stormed himself here. 30 kills, going down to 13 workers, 12 workers even, while he was trying to push through mid. I do think Soviet has like kind of a workable position as far as coming out with Templar and storming and fighting a little bit mid. But I do think getting stormed here kind of sucks. Like this, not a whole lot of airspace between here and your mineral line. Like a very small travel distance from here to here. I'll do my best to try and catch the storm drops. I know I've missed quite a few this game already, or this series. But yeah, Soviet, Banana, both pretty low on supply. They've kind of been beating each other up. TT1. I don't think he took any storm damage. I mean, we're at 46 probes, so I'm going to say he probably hasn't. I think he hasn't been making just as many probes as a lot of us have. And he's only on one Nexus, so if he lost a lot, it would have taken him a very long time to replenish. And yeah, Soviet and Banner, like I said, both on 2. So the one thing I do feel like I have going for me is I'm on that triple Nexus to replenish the probe loss a bit quicker. I'm at 72 workers. I'm maxed right now, but kind of pushing out these Dragoons to trade out a little bit of supplies so I can start making Arbiters. Arbiters also coming for Banana. Yeah, just trading a bit of army off. You know, I'll come in for my own storm drop. We only get, well, 19, so 19 probes, not too bad. Knocking Banana back down to 30. I missed it, but it looks like, yet again, I think we got stormed here, Soviet down to 10 workers. Just kind of like beating each other's economy up. And Soviet supply feeling pretty low with a really low worker count, so he's feeling a bit weak right now. Meanwhile, I'm going into triple Stargate Arbiter production. Third Nexus coming down for Banana. And yeah, you can tell we're not really comfortable. Like none of the players here, we're not totally sure what to do. We're not a whole lot of action because we're just like, what do we do? What's the correct response in this situation? And they have middle, so we feel like breaking middle is just not ever going to happen this game. We're getting like boxed in with the cannons and everything. I do have like a good cannon line here to prevent drops coming from the top side. I think I don't. Yeah, I have a good bit of cannon coverage, but you do have to worry about, like I said, like a bunch of Corsair coming in with the shuttles, because the Corsair will tank the shuttle, the damage from like all the range units before the shuttle will get targeted. So that's typically how you look to pull off the drops. You see we got 3 Corsair here with the shuttle, going into carrier behind this as well. So flying in as I was kind of moving in for my own here, and I don't target the shuttle, so because I don't target the shuttle, the storms are able to go down. There's a lot of my probes again, knocking me back down to 29. Actually, another storm going down, so we're down to 24 workers now. I do have a pretty big bank because I hadn't been getting stormed. Meanwhile, I'll get my own storms off. Knocking Banana back down to 33, so we're just killing each other's probes. Pretty much it. So he does have a, even though his supply is really low, he does have a pretty good defensive setup with the cannons, the storm, and the reavers behind it. TT1 thinking of maybe going for a bust. But yeah, it looks like this is not going to work. Storm's going down on top of the reaver and getting it pretty low. Just one more storm here, I'll finish that reaver off. There it is. No, I get it, Dustin. We're not the biggest fans. I don't know, like, what you're supposed to do in these situations. None of us were really sure. Even Banana and TT1, it's like they took mid. Yeah. And then they were like, well, we got mid. No cannons, reaver, or carriers. Well, can't really set it to no cannons because of DT, right? But yeah, like no cannons mid or something at least. On a bunch of our workers actually that came out on the side got stuck. So another storm drop coming in. Do actually at least move our workers some. Not gonna lose too many actually, so down to 39, that's not too bad. I'm at 38 workers in max, so I'm not even rebuilding workers. I'm kinda not sure what to do at this point. Kinda going into carrier, like I said. An additional drop came down and I see the start of it here, but looks like some more big storms, 24 kills on that one. Soviet down to 21 workers. Soviet having a really hard time just getting any economy and army up. The supply's been relatively low this whole game. I go for a recall here. Unfortunately, my Templar weren't really positioned to come out on this side to get the storms off on the workers. And then there ended up being a Zilla wall here kind of blocking this this Templar. So Banana taking pretty much no damage from this storm or from this recall here. That being said, his supply is also a little bit low at just 131. So I am maxed with a pretty good bank, so as far as like eco and army goes, I'm looking relatively strong. But again, it doesn't feel like I can actually ever break out. 222 upgrades. I think Banana... okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think the corner positions do have the best spawn. Like the easiest to deal with the drops. I've mentioned this before, because it's like, look, like I said, like look at the space from here. All they have to do is get to here, and they're in range of your mineral line. But like, look at my base, right? They have to go from here, just all the way through all of this. I have all of this to work with, and even like this space included. And it's the same up here, right? So the corner bases just have way more defensive potential than like 6 o'clock or any of the side bases, or 12 and 6, yeah. But here, I'm kind of looking up. I figured these cannons were here, but I hadn't actually double checked. That cannon actually popped up and didn't fire. Like it. Part of it too was I couldn't like fight, right? I'm maxed with a pretty good bank, and they're actually like Banana's supply was pretty low without a bank, and I kind of wanted to just be able to fight mid, and use my eco advantage, even if I'm trading poorly, just to like fight and make something happen. But the problem was Soviet, because of his positioning, had just taken so much non-stop damage that I can't really do it because he won't be able to follow up and back me up. Well, I actually really like that first storm on top of the Templar and killing all the Soviets' Templar. Didn't kill a whole lot of probes. He actually killed these probes over here, which kind of in the long run is good for Soviet, unless he wanted to actually shuttle them out, but he was just kind of leaving them there. Here we have this Arbiter kind of sneaking through here a little bit, using the space here. Kind of looking for a potential recall on TT1 up here. 3 Corsair coming and starting to shell away at this Arbiter. Goes into the cannons here. Go and do my recall with 2 more Arbiters here. We'll do a second small... These are kind of small recalls. They didn't really jump or bunch up too well, but you do at least pull a fair amount of the army away from middle. Start storming on top of the army here. Have this come up here, but unfortunately I couldn't get the storm to go off. I am 333 upgrades, and we do manage to get up here and just get the storm off. But TT1, he's at 35 workers. As I kind of mentioned before, not really too big on worker production anyway. So Soviet comes in as well with 2 Reavers, 2 Templar. Dropping on top of the probes and Nexus here, killing a lot more probes. And we have these slow Reavers trying to come back now to try and help TT1. Reavers targeting the Nexus down. We're actually going to get the kill on this Nexus, which is a pretty massive play. Not only does he not really have a good spot to rebuild a Nexus, but this is permanent damage. Once you've killed this, that Nexus can never go back there again, so their income can never be the same. Meanwhile, a bunch of carriers now hitting Soviet at 9 o'clock. Arbiter's coming out, and one good thing against carrier is Stasis. Stasis is honestly just the best counter to carrier, as it's almost impossible to prevent carriers from clumping. Hey, thanks for the follow, Richie Pinkmore. Appreciate that. So big stasis on the carriers here, and that's a lot of supply that's locked down in carriers. Meanwhile, I start hitting mid now, because I know we pulled a lot of the army to top right, and we did like really good damage to TT1. My bank is pretty huge, but so is Bananas. But TT1 not even rebuilding a Nexus right now. Actually just canceled a bunch of units to try and start a new Nexus. So there's absolutely no income right now for TT1. These carriers do come out of stasis, at least in the meantime, while I'm fighting here. I mean, this is a lot of Reaver, Storm, Cannon, Carrier. This is kind of a mess to try and get through. You drop a few Storms on top of the Carrier, forcing them to fall back at least a little bit. Okay, I'm not crazy. So I thought that happened. Did you see that? My Templar did the animation to cast Storm and no Storm came out. Is he 3-3? Kind of hard to say, they're all building Carrier right now. They're Interceptors. We do have 3 armor, so probably. Yeah, he's 3-3-3. Yeah, my Templar did the animation for Storm. Storm didn't come out, and its energy went away. Second time I've seen that now with spellcasters. But the one thing is, what we got out of TT1 is pretty much all he's got. So as long as we can hold here, we're good. My supply is dipping a little bit low. My gateway count's actually a lot lower than it needs to be. But it's just kind of like, if we hold this push, we do get into a winning position. Move forward, get a really big stasis again. Now it's just... what is this, 5, 6 carrier? Actually 8 carrier still, but 8 carrier here. Another big stasis on the carrier and army here. Once again, kind of clogging them, and I'm just massing goon. Soviet dropping the dead guy, and now he's starting to come through mid finally. Banana's bank is like absolutely massive. But we haven't killed any carrier, we're just stasising the carrier and killing interceptors right now. But yeah, I just can't fight. This is kind of what I mean. This is the weakness of carrier. It doesn't matter that he's maxed with carrier, his entire army is in stasis. And GG is called, and Team Azhi manages to take the fastest series 2-1. Alright, let's jump into this. Fighting Spirit. Probably the worst map for Soviet and I as BGH players, and I actually do play some fastest every now and then. I have almost 0 2v2 experience outside of what I did in BWCL, which was like 5 games maybe. So, a little bit uncomfortable here for me, not entirely sure what strategies I should go for. Like, I have like the general idea, but I think Soviet has played even less than me. I picked random. I played random for this game, yeah, and landed on Zerg. Banana also played random. Banana plays random for the rest of the series. As do I. I think him and I both played random for the rest of the series now. But I'm not like super uncomfortable with Zerg and Fighting Spirit. And part of the reason I'm picking random is because I think, I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like double toss would be bad on Fighting Spirit. It just doesn't sound good to me. Like if I think about the situations, like the potential matchups and stuff. It might be good, I don't know. But here I go for overpull. Meanwhile, Banana dropping his depot here at the front, going for a wall. TT1. I don't remember if he goes 2-gate or comment from your main again. Okay. I don't know what that was about then. I didn't change anything. Second gate coming down. They did go for the early scout. TT1 did and landed on Soviet, so they didn't actually know what my race was yet. 2-gate I think is just going to be the safer option in general. Early gas here for Banana, potentially looking for mech in case we were double toss, I think, but here they're going to confirm that I'm Zerg. And no pro harass coming out of Soviet after scouting here. So the barracks and depot both going to be able to go up for free potentially. A little bit of pro harass starts, but it's kind of after the barracks is done. We won't be able to get any damage down there. Meanwhile, my lings come out, and this probe is mostly looking to see like my lair timing or if I continue gas, or like what exactly I'm doing here. So here he sees that I'm still mining gas, so he can probably assume that it's going to be lair. And right when I hit 100, start my lair, so he gets confirmation that I'm going lair behind my lings. My first lings I set across this way, in case the Zealots were rallying to Soviet because he was going straight to Dragoon. But the Zealot actually was being pretty sneaky and came up along this pathway and came to me, so I didn't see it coming in time. I've never really done one hatch muta before. Zealot coming here, gets on top of my lings. He's gonna try to look to get behind the mineral line. Meanwhile, he has his ramp plugged here with 3 Zealots here, so I can't counterattack. So he gets behind the mineral line. I make a bit of a mistake here. There was no rush for me to do what I'd like to jump on the Zealot. But I needed to set a few lings here and a few lings here and flank it here so it doesn't get such a good trade. So I do actually take like a really, really bad trade against this Zealot. Managed to get 4 ling kills. The other thing that we needed to do was this goon should have been coming to TT1. Not towards Banana. I have the Overlord here to spot the high ground, so we have Dragoons here kind of poking away at this right away, and then I can have my lings like come in as we get chip away at it. And I kind of had this idea, but again it's like an uncomfortable map for me, so I wasn't sure if that was the right call. But this goon coming up here and sitting here ends up accomplishing nothing. Meanwhile, he's going Stargate here for Corsair to counter me going 1 hatch lair. Yeah, and basically, if we just had these goons on this the whole time, I think we could have busted this through, because it's only 4 Zealots and like 1 cannon coming up. I have like a lot of ling as well. Yeah, it's +1 Sarah as well. And my lings, I needed to have... Where can I put an Overlord? I guess here? Sure. Maybe around here. A little bit hard to spot this area, looks like. But I just needed to basically have the spotting, like lings even instead, if I can get an Overlord. Just to see the bio move out and use my lings to cover the bio. Yeah, Corsair coming out now. Soviet Kingdom getting me a pylon here to potentially make me cannons so that I don't get countered by bio. But you can kind of see, just we're not comfortable. We're not sure what to do exactly. I think we did have a window here to kill TT1 and we just didn't even know it. We weren't super confident in the call. So now there's +1 Corsair coming out while I'm going 1 hatch lair. Against Corsair and bio. Soviet in the meantime, just continuing 2-gate production here, getting a defensive cannon. I guess I could have sent in an Overlord too, so I didn't have to do that. I mean, it's going to be a lot of Corsair, so I don't think it would have mattered long run. I did get Scourge out for this. The Corsair killed 1 Muta. And unfortunately, the vision on that cannon was wild for me. I didn't see it till it shot me. Like it was invisible till it hit me, and then it gave me vision. So I lost to 1 Corsair, which is kind of crappy. Sorry, I'm clicking around too much. Bio kind of moved out a little bit. We spotted it here with the Dragoons. Corsair just flying into his base looking for any Overlord that I might have sent them. +1, just about done here for the Corsair. I'm just gonna fly around, I guess, looking maybe to spot the army here. Might get a reaction there in time. Also getting close to +1 Zealots to fight the Zerglings. And Citadel kind of finishing up here. So now with the Zealots moving out, pretty large bio force as these goons are chasing the Corsair. Unfortunately, these goons really needed to be kind of fighting the bio, but he ran all the way home. So now the bio is kind of showing up at my base here, and we only have 2 cannons here on the ramp. It's +1 Zealots and a lot of +1 stem bio, as well as +1 Corsair. So my army composition is just bad against everything that they had. +1 Zealots, +1 Corsair, and +1 stem bio while I'm going mutiling. And unfortunately the Dragoons are just now showing up after they've already broke through the ramp here. Corsair fighting the Muta. Not really very good targeting, like I did a little bit of targeting but not great, and the Corsair are actually going to win this battle. I did lose my Scourge as well. So it's jumping on top of my drones, down to 9 drones, my supply is dipping extremely low, and the Goon's not even able to get up the ramp. GG is called. Game 1 goes to Banana and TT1. Pretty easily, I would say. And we'll just go and jump straight into Game 2. One second here. Okay, going to game 2. This time Banana lands on Zerg, and I land on Terran. So we're actually reverse races here. Terran, maybe not my strongest race in this. I think Zerg's a little bit more comfortable just because playing 9-pool, while there is some depth to it, I think like on the surface level, just playing 9-pool is a little bit easier than playing Terran. So I mostly kind of initially try to copy Banana. I usually wouldn't wall, but it feels like it's supposed to wall after he did it, so I try to go for a wall here. And unfortunately this Scout from TT1 gets to my base incredibly quickly. My depot's not even done yet, as the probe shows up and starts harassing my CV. So, very frustrating, kind of unfortunate. And I kind of feel a lot of pressure here because I know that 9-pool is probably coming, while this probe is delaying my barracks and things like that. And I also think this barracks placement is wrong. I'm pretty sure this does not wall Zealots or Lings very well. I think I need like a lot of extra units. Pretty sure this is open to try and plug this wall with. Yeah, this is open too. So I get my second pilot down, or depot going. Probe continuing to harass me. SCV getting very, very low. I have 2 SCVs that have taken a fair amount of damage. While this is happening, lair quickly on the way, so it's actually a lair before Ling speed here for Banana. As his Lings are starting. 2 gate from Soviet. Zealot coming out, kind of pushing out a little bit. Gonna come up here to try and scout Banana, but turn around as he sees the Lings coming out. So unfortunately he doesn't go up to try to confirm the lair, so we don't actually know what the lair timing is. We can kind of assume that it's happening. Meanwhile, this probe did actually get an SCV kill. And I actually went, I think, an extra drone or 2 here. We're at 10 drones right now. He drops a Hydra Den, so he's actually looking for a potential lurker here. Meanwhile, I actually just go into Factory. Not super confident in Bio at all on this map. The Goon does come out here as the Zealot shows up. Zealot trying to jump on top of workers here a little bit. Getting picked at, taking a fair amount of damage. And a 72 HP here as we jump on one worker. And don't quite get the worker. Decent pull away from TT1. Kills the Zealot without taking any damage. Meanwhile, I actually made a bunker here because I was not comfortable. And I didn't stay here to plug the wall. Actually, this wall doesn't look that bad. It's just this one opening here. Unfortunately, I didn't leave an SCV there to plug, so Lings are going to get in. And I'm going to start taking some SCV damage. Very, very bad from me. We're still at 18 SCVs, so like worker count's not that bad, surprisingly. But we're going to lose some more here. Third SCV goes down, fourth one gets pretty low. Actually start up a Vulture at this point, and just having a hard time dealing with the Speedlings. Just not really microing or controlling my workers super well here. The 2 SCVs go down almost a third even. Meanwhile, while this is happening, I'm down to 18 workers. I still actually have more than TT1 despite losing 5-6 workers. So the one thing that I was doing well, at least, was that my worker production wasn't too bad. Cannon coming up here to help deal with this, and Banana and TT1 actually kind of doing what I was thinking we should have been doing, using the Overlord to spot here while Dragoons are picking away at the Zealots on the ramp. Meanwhile, looks like we canceled the Hydra Den and we went into Aspire. Muta's on the way, and no cannons in the mineral line. Armory not even finished, no eBay, so neither myself nor Soviet having any anti-air ready at the moment for these two Muta coming across the map. Meanwhile, TT1 behind this, we have a Robo Bay on the way. Maybe looking for a Reaver or just observers, potentially. Third Gateway coming down as well. Gains moving towards me here on the bottom side. I do have a tank coming down, going up to 3 Factory. Mutas show up here for Soviet, and the Corsair just kind of staying and fighting, not even fighting. There we go, okay. Moving down to the outside, but we're more than half dead at this point, so we have to be really, really careful. And unfortunately, the Corsair goes down. We have no cannons up in our mineral line. Second Corsair about to come out, but GG is called, and yeah, Soviet just not having an answer for the Muta coming in there. And to be fair, neither did I. I ended up going tank before Goliath because I was worried about Dragoons. But I think for me, because I have the bunker here, I actually could have gone Goliath first, just in case. But Banana and TT1 taking game 2, winning the Fighting Spirit best of 3, 2-0.
Okay, yeah. Makes a huge... It joined in like 3 seconds without the password, so...
Alright.
Sweet!
Alright, so we're going to hop into game 1 of the best of 3 on BGH now between Team Azhi and Team Banana. Spawning in the 12 o'clock position as Protoss here is TT1. And his teammate... Which one's his teammate? Bottom... Oh god, I don't remember. Can't tell him the colors either. Oh, here we go. Okay, it's bottom right. It's bottom right is Banana TQ.
Right.
Right, well, okay, yeah. And Soviet's playing Protoss. Duh. Don't mind me. And then me spawning 3 o'clock as Zerg, and my teammate SovietKingdom spawning bottom left as Protoss. So like I mentioned, Banana and I play random for these games on BGH as well. And the other two picking Protoss. So a lot of times what you can see in this situation, if Zerg wants to go like early pool, you kind of get the early map control, and you can either do cannons to cannon a teammate in, preferably the Terran, or the Protoss can just go Dragoon. I personally prefer the Dragoon tech over going cannons and getting the map control. So I do tell Soviet in this game that I'd like to see Dragoons out of him.
Okay. Is it Is Protoss random a common race combo in 2v2 BGH or not really?
For 2v2, honestly, there's no like bad race combination. Just a lot of people are Protoss pickers in general. Soviet like exclusively plays Protoss in serious games. He does play Zerg sometimes, but yeah, Protoss is 100% his comfort zone.
So this was 9 pool, or no, sorry, like an overpool or something from you, right?
I did overpool, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, overpool just because if you're looking just for map control and not damage, you can go a little bit better eco. And since my teammate's going Dragoon, I'm more worried about protecting them. And I early scouted the Terrans, so I knew they were Protoss Terrans, so I didn't have to worry about Zerg, so that's why I decided to go overpool as well.
Right.
Okay, actually that's true, someone in my chat mentioned. Terran is really bad. Double Terran is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
I think it's the same as on Fighting Spirit, that Terran just doesn't have early game presence. Like, without Zealots like, Zealots and Lings both stop Terran from being able to move out on the map for a while.
Exactly, yeah.
I think so they haven't scouted Soviet going Dragoons yet. I should have been blocking the scout with this with my Lings already, and not allowed this probe to go in.
Mm-hmm.
So allowing them to see that he's going Dragoon tech early was a mistake by me for sure. That being said, TT1's already dropping the Forge at his choke anyway, so he was already planning on playing defensive because of the Terran teammate.
Mm-hmm.
And Banana actually going bio. But I did spot this because I have the Overlord here, you see, on the left side. Just kind of watching the barracks, and seeing that it's still making units already lets us know that it's bio without me needing to scout the gas.
Exactly. I was going to ask if you knew what he was doing at this point, but yeah, I mean, once they make more than like even one Marine, basically, you kind of know it's bio, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing to watch out for is like how often it idles, because if it idles too much, then it can show that they're going for a fast factory off of 2 racks, in case they want to do like a push to break cannons or something like that, which we did actually see in the BGH qualifiers when I played against the Chinese team. We actually saw the barracks going idle a lot, and I wasn't paying attention. Like, I saw it, but it didn't register that he was going tanks. So we actually overmade cannons even though the guy was going tanks.
I got you. Huh. So the plan for y'all at this point looks like Goonling for the foreseeable future, right?
Yeah, so the way I feel like it should be played on this situation is the Goons harass the Terran to open them up, and then we would double team the Terran. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of conflict of style here between Soviet and I. He wanted to go Forge and make cannons after opening Dragoons, and try to like hold someone. But I've been playing 3-hatch Lings, so my eco's very, very low. You see him on 12 drones with no tech coming.
Right.
So I have no mid-game presence with how I'm playing right now. So we see the Dragoons chipping away at the depots here, and the walls like this can be like super vulnerable to Dragoons, not only because they can chip away at so much of the wall and there's so much surface area to get a lot of Dragoons, but even the SCVs coming up to repair can be sniped very easily.
For sure. Yeah, and these two lost supply depots actually going to supply block Banana here, at least for a minute, so he's not going to be loving that. His range is about halfway done, and his medic count is already very good, going ahead and pre-making those medics to build up the energy, which is going to help him out a lot in a few minutes here.
Yeah, we actually get the snipe on the barracks, so reducing the production quite a bit. You see TT1 as well, he just goes for like very quick leg speed here, and +1 Zealots. It does scale like really, really well into Dragoonling as well. I do have my lair started, it's about to finish here. But again, my drone count is very, very low. I'm continuing Lings potentially too long here even. And now starting a few extra jumps finally. But we kind of broke the front open, and then we got really indecisive about whether or not to attack. And you can kind of see, like I mentioned, we kind of dealt with this a lot last series as well. Just a lot of indecision. Unsure of we're not super comfortable telling each other what to do, to be honest. We haven't played together a whole lot yet.
Right.
Yeah, we're just kind of floundering around mid right now while both of them are just building up a large army.
Do you think there was a window to just go 2v1 banana in this case, or do you think the zealot counter was going to be too strong?
So if we go like look at it back when he first opened it up, I was on about 30 Zerglings, and Soviet had 7 Dragoons, and there were only 11 Marines for DPS. So if we had gone right away, we could have killed him, but as you can see, we decided to go now. But now the Marine count's pretty high with a fair amount of medics, and there's just a lot of Zealots here to counterattack me with speed already.
Yeah, leg speed is done. +1 is about to finish for the Zealots as well. So these things are just going to trade insanely well versus these Lings once the +1 finishes. And it's done.
Yeah, and with that +1, just especially because he got inside my SimCity like this, I'm actually getting bottlenecked inside my own base against +1 Zealots. So trading absolutely horribly here.
TT1 going ahead. Oh, I thought that was intentional, targeting the pool, but maybe not. Just doing so much damage though here without the M&M here. Or, sorry, without the goons here.
Yeah, and in the meantime, Soviet actually got pushed back as well into his base, and a lot of the bio's now going to make it to me. We did manage to clean up the Zealots, but yeah, with this bio coming in, and the medics, and me just having no units, even just starting up more drones. And yeah, GG is called. The Dragoons in the center were getting caught by more speed lots, and I just had no answer to all this bio at this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, GG.
Alright, hopping into game number 2 on BGH. Yeah, TT1, top left playing Protoss, and Banana landing on Zerg this time, top right. Soviet, pretty tough positioning for Soviet Kingdom. At 12 o'clock he is sharing with Protoss, and unfortunately me is on the opposite side of the map as Terran. Yeah, means that Soviet is going to be on an island by himself for a little while here.
Yeah, this is pretty brutal positions for you guys, honestly. About as bad as it gets, wouldn't you say? Positions-wise?
I would say this is the worst possible positioning we could have got.
Yeah.
And me landing on Terran on top of that makes it the worst possible.
Yeah, pretty disgusting, but we'll see what you guys can do.
Yeah, as Protoss, in Soviet's position, it's really difficult in Soviet's position. The reason being because you're kind of forced into cannon because you know you're going to get 1v2'd, but at the same time, it's also hard to get cannons up if the Protoss here choke is continuing like Zealot pressure, because the base spawn is so close that the Zealot travel distance is very, very low. So if you go forge and cannons, then you're having to spend a fair amount of resources on cannons, making it hard to hold off the Zealots. But if you go like 3 gateway Zealot, and then your opponent also goes 3 gateway Zealot, you just have to worry about the 1v2 that's going to be coming your way, and just getting out macroed. And especially because I'm Terran, it means that I won't be able to get to him for a pretty long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels to me in these spots where you have Protoss and Zerg coming at you that you almost have to hold the initial rush with 2 gate and then cannon after.
That's actually
seems like the only
how
real way to defend.
So the way I like to play it is I do like to play 2 gate and use pylons at the front to kind of mess with surface area and just play around the pylons to buy a lot of time. Yeah, and I am going bio here. Because he's sharing with the Protoss, it does mean that I'm a little less worried about getting cannoned. Because if he drops the Forge and makes cannons in front of my base, then Soviet should be able to at least have some amount of control over his choke. And he is actually going into 3-gate here.
Yeah, not a bad choice considering he sees Banana. What is this? Like a 9-hatch or something? Or no, this must be 12-hatch, right? I was not paying attention.
I kind of wasn't paying attention either.
Well, actually,
maybe it was a 9-9.
No, it's 12. It's 12-hatch. Sorry, just by the game timer.
Oh, so, okay. Don't mind me. I'm a BGH player.
No, I wasn't.
I'm pretty bad with timings, I will say that.
It's only something I've learned recently, but it is super helpful to like be able to know when the building finishes, when it, tell when it started from that. But yeah, pretty reasonable 3 gates. Seeing the late pool from Zerg, TT1 3-gate as well. So kind of a mass game right here. Other than Banana does have the lair on the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and meanwhile I opted into triple racks because I did feel like I need to get a decent unit count to be able to contest mid if they start pressuring Soviet. And here they are.
3 racks definitely makes sense in this spot.
And here they move in to start pressuring Soviet. Link speed's actually not done yet. I didn't even realize this during the game, so I backed off when I see the Lings coming back. I have enough Marines that had I brought maybe a couple Lings or SCVs with it, that I could actually fight the Lings. But I do have a pretty late academy because I'm going 3 racks and heavier macro, and cannons are actually going up with the Lings covering the cannons right now. So with that happening, Soviet should be able to pressure. But I don't know that we scouted. We saw the pylon. Yeah, we had scouted the pylon when I went to scout Banana, so we knew that cannons could be coming up now. But with that being said, typically because the Protoss is investing a fair amount into the cannons, in this position, Soviet should have enough zealots to hold, but we're actually pretty similar zealot count than with TT1. The Lings and SCV, or Zealots jumping on top of the probes here, actually killing a fair amount of probes and killing the mineral line cannon.
Soviet starting to get overwhelmed a bit here, losing probes, losing the last couple of his zealots, and we have no more zealots in production, so this does look like about it for our red Protoss here. Probes gonna head out. We've got the counter over at the Zerg at 1 o'clock. Marines coming in. No medics with this group, but if we snipe the Spire, that is some pretty good value here.
Yeah, I lost a lot trying to get past the cannons. I did have to move command around the right side, and I lost maybe 5, 6, 7 Marines in the process. So my Marine count wasn't as high as I would like for it to have been here.
Yeah.
Yeah, with those Marines getting cleaned up and Soviet taking a lot of damage, the situation's looking pretty rough. TT1 more than doubling Soviet's worker count. Spire finished, so mutas are coming on the way. And Zealots coming in the mineral line with the muta to just snipe this cannon, and then Soviet will have no answer for the muta at that point. With that, Soviet's dead, and I go ahead and call GG. So
yeah, banana, pretty interesting there. Like you mentioned, he went 12 hatch, and then he skipped speed for lair as well. So some very fast mutas for a 2v2 for sure. Yeah, I've seen that a lot of times, or at least I don't play a ton of Terran, but that's kind of what people always recommend, is that to not really fight the cannons unless you can stop them before they get up, kind of.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, once the cannons get up against Terran, they're basically out of the game until tanks. Sometimes you'll see Terran try to go for bio to bust, and that will work if Protoss stops at 3 cannons, which is kind of the minimum number of cannons you'll see. But if you go up to like 5+ cannons, that can stop a ton of bio coming out of these BGH chokes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so with that, Banana and TT1 actually take the series 2-0 in BGH, making the overall series 2-1 on the maps. And that also means that Banana and TT1 do qualify for their group, no matter what happens with my series against G-Easy.